If joy is missing in your life and you'd like more of it, are you doing anything about it? Are you trying to make any kind of moves to bring more joy into your existence? David Essel here, and of course you're tuned into the most positive podcast in the universe, David Essel Live, right here on Buzzsprout.com, 35 years, podcast host, radio host, TV host, etc. If joy is missing, and it's missing in a lot of people's lives, ever since the pandemic began, and then the presidential insanity, and then the wars all over the world, and the inflation, and then the COVID comes back again. Oh my gosh, people have just said, what do you mean joy? How can you have joy when there's so much uncertainty? How can you have joy when there's inflation? How can you have joy when we are going through a divorce? How can you have joy when my kids are in trouble? How can you have joy when I've got a partner who's an addict? How can you have joy when I don't have enough money? Oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? I've seen this in my practice, clinical practice, for the last 5 years or 4 years since the pandemic. A lot of people have dropped their joy. They've dropped those things they used to do that brought a lot of joy. And of course, I understand the reasons, you know. Everything was screwed up when I started working from home. And then my kids were home from school. And we go through all these stories of when the pandemic was in full tilt of why we don't have joy. But what about now? Why don't we have it now? Why can't we start to do things to create joy? And I'm going to give you a couple ideas on what we need to do to create that joy. Number one is I'm going to ask you to go ahead and create a list. This should be really fun. It really should be. What things bring joy into your life? Is there certain types of music? Are there certain people that when you're out with them, you have so much fun? I'm not talking about with alcohol and drugs and all that shit. I'm talking about just really having a great time. You know, there's a couple people that I'll sit outside with on a bench and just talk and have so much fun with them. We'll have coffee somewhere and I'll just have a blast. You know, are you still with those people? If not, we need to find some new ones. You know, I was talking to a client today that's, and this is going to sound pretty interesting. She works at a very high pressure job, but at part-time she works on a ranch where there's cows and stuff like that. She just does it for fun. But she says, David, the greatest amount of joy I have when I'm sitting in the grass and a cow comes up because they're so curious and they'll lay down next to me. It fills my heart with joy. You know, I may have mentioned this before. I did a podcast recently on some of these animals in my backyard at night. I have possums, I have raccoons, and I have a lot of joy at night going out, especially there's this baby possum I've created this relationship with, believe it or not. And that gorgeous little thing will come out, I'll call it, it comes out from the bushes and I'll throw it little pieces of bread. It gets within about maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet of me. It's not coming any closer. Oh my God, my heart is filled with joy. But what about you? I want you to take this exercise really seriously. I just ripped the headphones out of my ears. I want you to take this exercise really seriously. I want you to write down what used to bring joy as a child. Were there things that you used to do as a kid that brought joy? What about in high school? What about in college? What about 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago? And are you still doing it? You see, as we write down those things that used to bring us joy, you know, I remember I used to love to read fiction novels. And Travis McGee, John D. McDonald wrote a whole series of books on this guy, Travis McGee. And I think there was 25 at all. I used to have so much joy reading those Travis McGee books. As a matter of fact, my dad, my brother, and I used to read them and talk about them. And I'd go back and read ones that I hadn't read in a couple years because I had all 25, right? That brought joy. For some people, it's listening to praise music. For other people, it might be listening to country music brings joy. For other people, it might be going to concerts. For other people, it might be going to art exhibits. For other people, it might be dancing. What brings joy? When was the last time you saw a sunrise? Did it bring joy? When was the last time you saw a sunset? Did it bring joy? When was the last time, if you don't have a dog, that you went to the pound and volunteered? Because it brings, my brother did that for the longest period of time. He'd go to a shelter and take care of the dogs on Sunday mornings from like 7 to 10. It brought so much joy into his heart. Now, how about you? If we don't write it down, the odds are we're going to stay stuck in the pattern we're in. And if we're limited in joy, why stay there? Why not break out? And how much time do you need? Oh my gosh, you might only need 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day to do something. Does gardening bring you joy? You can garden inside. You can grow plants in the wintertime inside, for God's sake. I'm trying to give you all these ideas because I don't want you limited in putting up a block and saying, well, David doesn't understand my schedule. I don't have an hour a day to play tennis or basketball or go to the gym. You don't have to. There's so many other things that can bring joy. getting a pet. You know, I have a friend of mine, a former client that now is a friend, that got a goldfish. And when she got a goldfish, I was telling her they can live up to 40 years, and she didn't believe me. She has so much joy with her goldfish. Now she has multiple goldfish. She went out and bought a 10-gallon aquarium for her goldfish with all kinds of equipment in it and everything else. It brings her joy to look at her fish every day. And when I work with dentists, many times they'll hire me as a consultant. They'll say, get an aquarium in your dental office. Oh my God, they're so relaxing. They're so beautiful. Yeah, there's a little maintenance, but it brings joy to your clients. It relaxes them. I'm going to stop right here. Go to talkdavid.com. If you're stuck and you're saying, I don't know how to squeeze anything into my schedule, I would love to help you. We work with people for 43 years now from all over the world, and there's 4 free books at talkdavid.com. You may want to pick one of those up or all of them, and maybe that will bring joy. Whatever you do, do not let another day go by with at least 5 minutes of a joyful experience. Whatever it means to you, reach out if I can help. Until next time, I'm David Essel. Have a joyful day. Bye now.